All right, so I know last week I said I was going to start with that door rocker, but I got to looking at everything, and I need to get this quarter panel out of the way so I can see everything all the way through, door jambs and everything. So, like I said last week, I was going to have a hard time trying to figure out how to handle this panel by myself once it's cut free. It's pretty big. It's going to be very floppy once I cut it loose from its main shape here. So what I've come up with is basically I've taken some of these car dollies here, and I've welded my body stands right to the car dollies. And what I'm going to do here is I've got this little piece of angle, and I've put a couple lock nuts on it, and then an eye lock here so that this rotates, and I've welded it right to the quarter panel outside there. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to bring this in, and I'm just going to bring it up to here, and I'm going to weld it. And the reason I want this to rotate like this is because right now it's up on jack stands. So as I bring this back and I want to work this top edge, I need to lower this so that I can get this into the jaw of the shrinker stretcher. And I'll need to lower and raise this because of the curve with these body stands. So in order not to bend up the sheet metal over here, this has to rotate, because obviously one of them is going to drop a little lower, then the other one's going to drop a little lower, and so forth and so on. And I'll have to be able to have it not bind up on me. So I'm going to have this held in two locations, one about here and then maybe one right about here with this other body stand. And hopefully that'll enable me to move the panel around, feed it into the shrinker stretcher, and to be able to maneuver this edge here and shape this to the curvature that I want. Also, what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've cut away this wheel opening, and I've set it to the side because I will reuse it. I will have to cut it in the center and spread it out, of course, but it's got the exact curvature I need in both directions. So once I widen the hole out to where I want it for the wheels and tires, then I'll put it back to the quarter panel the same way that I did the front fenders. And the other thing that allows me to do is, because I've cut it away, it doesn't have this profile on it any longer, and that'll enable me to get the flex in the panel that I need to create the new arc shape from front to rear. And it won't be impeded by rigid wheel opening here. And once that's in the shape it needs to be, then I'll re-engineer that wheel opening finish piece to match whatever I come up with on the quarter panel itself. So, long-winded explanation, but that's what I'm up to, and we'll move on to the next thing. All right, so that's what that looks like separated out, and as you can see, this is now just hanging off of these two body stands. I just rolled it out and away from the car, so that worked out okay. I was wondering whether it was going to be too heavy and fall over once I had it free, but it seems to be pretty well balanced. Anyway, that's what I'm up to. Got to clean it all up, do a lot of internal work here before I could even get started, but it came off cleanly. All right, so while I was cutting the car down, getting it back to its basics, which was basically this inner panel that triangulates this wheel tub together and holds all of this back here. In order to drop the body down over the car, I cut these extensions off. This extension over here, I'm calling it an extension, but it's actually just the end of this. There's this little bar set up right here, which is meant to collapse and help decelerate any kind of a side impact to the car. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to put this extension back on here to help reintroduce that strength back to this inner panel. What I've also done is I've trimmed down this piece, which is a pretty robust cover for that whole mess, because this fits well within the quarter panel now. And I'll put that back where it belongs, and at least we'll have that little bit of structure back into the car that was originally in the Challenger. All right, while waiting for the paint to dry on some other stuff that I'm doing over here, I went ahead and I got this old fuel cap that I trashed from my GTX build so that I could take and basically I cut out this piece here, and this is the what the piece looked like after I cut it out for the old style fuel neck. And this is what the opening looks like on the Challenger. Of course, it's a side mount. The other thing is that this has more crown in it than this does over here. So right now what I'm doing is I've got this flange cut out, and I flattened it out on the top and the bottom so that I would have a little bit more, excuse me, there's the top and the bottom here, right here. I flattened it out all the way around, and it's being trimmed. You can see it's high here, then it's low here, then high here again, and low here. So it takes in the differences in the two shapes of the fuel neck, or excuse me, the fuel filler cap rim. Anyway, so then I've got that dropped into the hole, and I'm just going around with a barrel sander here. I'm slowly snaking up on widening out the opening. I cut it initially inboard of this little peak, this little rim that goes all the way around this raised area here, and then slowly but surely I'm working my way back to the rim at the same time, trimming this down here, and doing a little bit of a fade going around here. Hopefully when I get this done, there'll be, you know, less than 1/8 of an inch difference, and that'll be able to be body worked in really nicely. Anyway, that's what I'm up to over here, and I'm just waiting on the paint to do some more work over here. Okay, so when I dropped the body down over the car, this time I tried to keep as much structure together, mainly these wheel tubs, which on the previous build I'd cut these all the way off, all the way back to this flange here. Then I had a heck of a time getting everything put back together, because once the body was on with the quarter panels on that car, I couldn't work this very easily and get, you know, good welds, good access to welding. So I decided this time I would just try and leave all of these outer wheel tubs intact as much as possible. One thing I couldn't do was leave this front part on, because it was interfering with the body drop. So I went ahead and cut just the front, drilled out the spot welds, and then cut this front section off. Now what I'm getting ready to do is to reintroduce this remaining portion back into here. And before I do that, though, I have an inner frame rail here that I need to just cap off and kind of seal it up to where, you know, I won't get any debris or water in that. So I have to do that, and then I have to put a piece on the top just in this back corner, and you know, just seam seal it up. And I'll have my actual rocker will be coming way out over here, but for now I'm just going to cap this area off while I can get to it. Once this piece of the wheel tub is back in place, I won't be able to put this on. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'll put this piece on. Okay, so this is what I'm doing to kind of bring this edge up here, because like I said, this shape doesn't fit exactly to the contours of what's already in this quarter panel top. So I'm adding, basically I've done an average here, and you can see that this piece is just slightly below here. So I'm at least trying to bring this up even by adding another, you can see this is just above, so I'm adding this piece of rod around here and welding that to that to bring that edge up so that there's something hard to go to when this all gets basically faded in a little bit better with when the Bondo work is done right in this area over here, and then on the back side also we get the same treatment, but trying to get it to look like this was intentionally here and not just an afterthought. At any rate, some of the other things I've done is I've got this forward section of the wheel tub welded back in and mended back in at the top. I've just put a little bit of this aluminum tape in here to try and prevent any water that might get into this cavity from going down in behind all that metal there. So I have to still seam seal here and up this edge right here where these two pieces are connected. Also, what I've had to do is install this rubber hose here that's normally used to take the water away from a sunroof. There's 4 of these usually on each corner, one on each corner of the sunroof housing, and they run down the A-posts and in where they're normally installed, and then they dump the water out through these grommets, these little rubber grommets here, and that basically would take care of any water that would come down the side of the window past the rubber window washer that goes across there, the rubber bead that goes against the glass, and then any water that would get down through there and end up in this cavity here, hopefully it would run in this little gutter that I've made and then down through the tube and out to the bottom here. So that's something. You can see that this is on a kind of a downward slope here, so hopefully any water that would get behind there would drain backwards in the car. At any rate, just trying to think of everything before I close this in and can't get to any of this stuff. But and anyway, that's where I'm at with all of this stuff, and I'll just keep on digging. All right, so that's what that looks like. Metal worked in, and so I'm gonna leave that be for now. At any rate, I went ahead and did a little seam sealing up and throughout there. Waiting on a metal delivery for the rocker, but I'm going to continue on here because I have to put a rim on here to put a closeout panel receiving rim along this wheel tub here, so that I can drill it and rivet it to the car from inside in this direction. Anyway, I'll be doing that, and then also I'll have to start engineering the gas filler tube here. As you can see, the most desirable way obviously was, to put it in right in this location, but it'd be odd looking. So because this is straight down and it goes behind the tire, that's the normal installation, which is blocked up over here. But in order to get from here, which is a much lower point, and then turn this way here and then come in and then down, I believe we don't have enough slope here. I've done this a couple times already on my car, and then on Don's Charger, where we have to make a pretty sharp turn here in order to get this to go downhill, and then we have to go to the inside of the wheel tub and then pop out through here and then connect it to the gas tank. Anyway, I'll be fiddling with that, and also, like I said, I'll be putting a rim on here before I start seeing what I got in the way of the shape of the quarter panel here and seeing how that all looks. All right, with the gas filled cap located here, I have to now start to back engineer the fill tube from this portion on down. So what I've done is I've abbreviated the steel part of the fill tube that fits up through that rubber. There's a rubber gasket right there. It just pops in there, and then I have to get it positioned in there the way I want, and then run an extension from here, maybe a piece of 5/8 tube welded here to this piece here. Oh, smokes. Anyway, this piece here will fit on the side of this like this, so I'll be able to attach this with a hose clamp around here, and that'll keep it pretty solid, so that when you're putting the gas nozzle in and out from the gas station, it's not going to wiggle around or poke through. Got to have it stabilized. Anyway, that's what I'm up to. All right, if my explanation was a little muddled, this is what I was talking about. Basically coming across here, and this is that little piece of steel that's shaped to the same size as this, and then I've got a little brace over here to keep the thing from being a little bit bouncy here. So it's just held on there with a hose clamp now, and it's really solid here, because basically there's only a rubber gasket here that locates it. That's because it's braced on the inside of the vertical mounting point that will be on the Challenger, and this is completely different. Just wanted to show you that. All right, so this is a little bit different than the one I did on my car and on Don's car, based on the fact that by the time you set this neck all the way down where it needs to go to accommodate this surround, it's a lot lower. So in order to not make this too sharp of a bend, I had to get this as perfectly low as I could get it, like right on the floor almost, to make this bend and come up. So I had to basically cut off the top of this and take some of the curves and reset them so that it went in to the inside of the car at a lower point. And I'll have to obviously make a bulkhead cover for that coming through there. Now that's hopefully pointed in the right direction. It's definitely going downhill to the angle that I need it to go down to now. And yeah, I couldn't make the connection with that piece of silicone hose, but what I am going to do is I have this fuel line right here, fuel fill, and I'm going to make the connection between this and going around the curve there, around the curve over here, I should say, to connect it up with this fuel line over here. Anyway, the other issue that I have is this trim piece normally just pushes in, and you have these little retainer clips right here that pop in around the rim. There's 4 of them, and just press it in there, and if you want to remove it, you have to reach up in there and press all 4 of these at the same time, which is a hassle under the best of circumstances. So what I have to do is I have to get rid of these tabs and basically create some screw mounts that'll go through the side here, because you're not going to be able to reach in and pull this piece out when the tabs are on the back side here. I can barely reach the 2 that are on this side here through the trunk, running my arm through the trunk lid and then in there to release these. And the reason that it has to be released is because some body work has to be done, so this has to come in and out a number of times before finished paint, and then of course it has to be out when it's being finished painted, and so hence I got to get rid of those. So anyway, that's where I'm at right now. This is a little bit tedious because I cannot get the alignment 100% because I can't hook it up to the gas tank right now. So it's kind of laying in the location. So I've got like I said, an overly large hole here to adjust if when I finally do get it pushed into the rubber hose that comes off the gas tank, that if I have to make any adjustments, I'll have enough clearance here before I make my bulkhead to close that hole back in. Anyway, that's one issue that I'm dealing with, and so I'll just keep pecking at it, and we'll get there. All right, so I have to have an alternative way to hold this piece into this hole here, because I've gotten rid of these little tabs that normally would just clip around this piece of sheet metal. So I've gone ahead and put these little vertical pieces of 1/2 inch by 1/8 inch in, and I've tapped them ahead of time to a 1032, and then I'm going to set this back in, and I'm going to drill some clearance holes based on the locations. Now this has a couple other register marks that are still with it, which is these 2 plastic pins here, and they fit on this side over here, so you've got a good orientation. Plus there's a little clearance on this side also for that piece right there. What I have done also is I've removed the rubber grommet for now, which I used that up to now to locate this, make sure it was centered up in the proper location. This rubber grommet basically is vibration dampener, but it's difficult to pop it in and out on this, so this would be like a final install. I'd put this on and then put it in for the last time. But right now, dropping this thing in and out, I just want to be able to drop it into the hole, and not have to fool around with that rubber grommet, because it's a very tight grommet. At any rate, now I'll go and I'll drill my clearance holes into the housing itself, and then I'll put some 1032s in there just to make sure that it all works up. Again, this is just my mock-up. When I see it works, I'll put everything onto my final housing over there. All right, so that's what it looks like with those two stainless steel screws just holding it in on the side. That secures it pretty good, and plus it's easy to remove it now from the top side. I gotta say that if I was trying to do this with a full quarter on here, reaching through into this area here to try and put this in, this would be a pretty difficult job. I'm not sure how I would get this hole drilled out. I'd probably have to drill just a guess hole, you know, an oversized hole in order to get this, because right now I just was able to take and mark it through this side over here. Now this one's not a problem, because you could reach through the trunk lid to get that one marked out. But you always got to be aware of these things. Once things are complete, how's it going to work? Anyway, I got to keep moving on. Okay, lucky for me, I saved these rings and these gas caps from a couple of projects past, so that I have a spare to work on. I don't have to work with the actual piece that's in the car right now. I can work out of the car. And what I'm doing here is what most people don't realize when they use this modern cap, that it's meant to mount on the side of the car. So there's no provision on this like there is on the old style that came with the 68 through 70 Chargers. It's not designed to keep water from infiltrating. As a matter of fact, it's basically designed to let water get through this housing. You can see there's a drain hole here, and it's on the car at a tilt, so everything drains out of there and down through the wheel well. But when you're putting it on the horizontal like this, there's nothing to keep water from going into your trunk. So basically there's this inner plastic piece. There's a big hole here. None of this is sealed. The water can hit the body here and then just go right on in. And if you seal this up to this edge here, well, then it's going to go through the next place, which is right here. That rubber gasket that I showed you that goes around here is just a vibration dampener. This doesn't seal up water from going in there. So if you got a rainstorm, it's going to go in here. It's going to go in here. It's basically going to go into your trunk. So there's no provision for waterproof with this particular, using this modern gas cap. So with that in mind, got this piece of sheet metal so that I can work on it outside the car. It's keyed up there. I have to make a secondary ring here, which, let's see where I've got this. Okay, this is the hinge side. So this doesn't actually have to go all the way up to the quarter panel bottom. It's just basically got to create like a tin can or container. And what I have to do here is I have to basically put a bottom on it, and then I have to cut out for the gas filler to go through here, and this will all be welded up. Then this will be sealed up with epoxy around the gas filler itself, and then I have to put a drain hole here, and then we have to run another hose, just like we did for the windows. Well, this one's going to probably get a little more activity because it's definitely going to get water in it. So we've got to find a low spot and then drain this can out. So if you can see it from the side here, it's just basically, if I can grab it all with one hand here, probably not. It's basically going to create a watertight area for the water to be channeled off around the gas filler. Anyway, it's a little tricky. The fact that this is a side mount, or meant for side mount in the car, it's vertical mount. You can see that it's got a sloped bottom to it. Excuse me, where's the bottom here? It's got the drain hole in it. Where is it? Right about here. Anyway, there's a difference in, there's fuel this way. Okay, I'll get it. All right, you can see that it's flatter on the top than it is on the bottom here, and it sits in the car somewhat like this. So that means that this is not centered up on this ring. As you can see, it's offset. So it's a little tricky because it's mounted flat. This is mounted flat in the car. So I have to find the center here, which is offset about 1/4 of an inch from the actual center. So this is the actual center of this can. This is the actual center of where this gas fill comes through. So it's yeah, it's a little tricky. Anyway, that's what I'll be up to, and I'll show you how that all comes together in the car itself. Okay, first off, just let me mention that this would be really tough to build if I didn't have this quarter panel cut off. So at any rate, it's basically roughed in right now. I've got to take it out, weld it up, clean it up a little bit better. And then, as you can see here, this would open up here. Any water getting in here or past here basically would fall through and would hit this container, which will all be sealed up with epoxy right to the neck over here. So any water getting by, and of course you've got your gas cap over here, and so there's not any water going to get into the actual gas fill itself. So at any rate, there's going to be a little drain at the back over here, and that'll exit at the bottom of the quarter panel. And that's the name of that tune. All right, so here's the bathtub installed with the, it's all been epoxied around the exterior. Make sure, first I welded it up continuously around this edge just to make sure I didn't have any pinholes. I went ahead and put some epoxy on the outside. I also epoxied around the inner rim here, tying it to the gas tank neck. And then I went ahead and painted it out. Here you can see the drain hole at the back here, so any water getting by this rim and dropping down into this area right here will come down this tube right here and out the bottom of the car. So that's the bathtub drain. This is locked into place right now. I have to get some 9/16 inside diameter injector tubing to go further through here, which I've put this grommet in here, and this is the breather, and this has to connect up with the breather over next to the inlet for the gas fill pipe. Anyway, it's kind of hard to film here. The sun's coming through the window, but you get the idea of what's going on here, I think. Anyway, moving on. Again, taking advantage of the fact that the quarter panel's off the car, went ahead and I trimmed off about 1/2 of an inch to an inch of this downward facing rim here. You can see at the very top, yeah, it's about 3/4 of an inch, I would say, at the top. And now what I'm doing is I've cleaned it down, sprayed it with some weld-through primer, and I'm going to add rim in this direction as opposed to down, in order to have something to tie the closeout panel that will go in and basically make up the distance between the quarter panel and this inner fender tub. So basically sort of a crush panel situation, but it'll be a flat panel and going in this direction all the way down. So I have to have something to secure it to, so I have to add this rim right now. Okay, so you can see where I've added this rim and plug welded it on the inside, and that gives me a nice surface to go to for this closeout panel that goes on the inside of the wheel tub and closes out to the inside of the quarter panel once it's back on. Right now what I'm doing is I'd save these panels that come off the wheel tub and kind of triangulate back to this extension over here. And this one here, I had to step it out about 1.25 inches because there's a module that mounts right here Fits about 1 inch thick, and I had to get it in behind all of this stuff right here. So I just took some 035 steel and bent it at an angle here. And instead of trying to weld it on here, because this is loaded up with this seam filler here, and rather than dig all of that out of there, just to put a couple tacks on there, I went ahead and I just riveted in with some steel rivets with some seam sealer in between that seam. Now this is offset. I'll be able to take this panel and reintroduce it here and weld it up right on this edge right here. And then I have this, you can see the square holes with the round holes next to it. Those are for clips that have a nutsert on them. And then those are the mounting points for that electronic box. God only knows what it's used for, but it's got to go back there. Anyway, moving on to the next thing. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up most of what I have to do with the quarter panel off as far as things that would be difficult to get through. I haven't connected up the fuel line yet, which there might be some angles that might have to be changed with this pipe here due to the fact that I couldn't get it directly plugged into where it has to go. But I'll leave that till later because there's a lot of welding to be done over here, and I don't want to hook that fuel line up until all of that welding's done and out of the way. So what I did this morning is just basically a little bit of squaring things up a little bit. This is a little extension I made for this inner wheel tub over here that just brings it down to a nice neat point over here. I added this piece to this floor extension here, which basically straightens the line out from here all the way back here, so that when I do finally close this out and go down to the bottom of my quarter panel, wherever it ends up, that this will be a nice neat panel that'll just come straight out and then drop directly down, and I won't have any funny edges to deal with, like this was stepped in a little bit here. And so that straightens that all out. I went ahead and put this piece of fuel line in, which is just basically my overflow vent right here. It's tied in over here, and I cut this grommet in, this rubber grommet. It comes through into the inside of the wheel tub here, and this will hook up to these overflow vents whenever it comes time to connect the live fuel hose back together. So the next thing I'll be doing is working on trying to shape the quarter panel, get it all to blend in. Before I can do that, actually, I keep forgetting I have to do that rocker first. And I also have to create the bulkhead that will carry this front edge and match it to the door right in this area. That's a little bit of a job right there, and so is this rocker. So those will actually be the first things I'll be doing. But I went ahead and I came up with this contraption over here. I have this contraption to where this holds the quarter panel up for me, and this is my shrinker stretcher, my large shrinker stretcher, the Echold machine, which I knew I was going to need in order to try and stretch and shrink this edge over here to try and get this whole quarter panel to curve. And what I ended up doing was I made this little contraption, put it on a dolly here, a car dolly, because this normally sits at a back angle on the floor. So I wanted to be able to move this along so that I could grab this and shrink this edge. And also raise and lower it. It already has a raise and lower function here on this stand. Just have to loosen this, and it's pretty heavy though. So I usually start at the high point and then drop down. I've got a little counterweight on here, but I've also got this little car jack right here, which I've got two pieces of particle board hinged at the front. The lower one is mounted to this dolly, and the upper one is just hinged at the front. So when I raise this jack in this direction, it tilts this forward or backwards. That's what the counterweight's for, so it doesn't topple over. But that's so that I can tip it up and grab this right at the right angle, so I'm not twisting or bending it. So it actually enables me to take the whole machine and tip it forward into the sheet metal. So I tried it out this morning and it worked out okay, as far as being able to, it's not cumbersome, and that was my main thing that I was worried about. At any rate, that's all I'm going to have time for this week, and I will see you on the next one.